Discover heartwarming secrets, 7 life-changing steps to empower yourself silently in 2025. Emma Green stood in the sun-drenched fields of her family farm, the once vibrant crops around her now drooping in defeat. The weight of loss pushed down on her chest, a constant reminder of her father's absence. Just weeks ago, life had been different. Now every wilting leaf felt like a cry for help. Her younger brother, Jake, watched her closely, his wide eyes filled with admiration but also uncertainty. He depended on her, and the thought tightened her throat. She wanted to be the rock he believed she could be, but despair clung to her like the dust on her hands. As she trudged back to the old farmhouse, butterflies crashed around in her stomach. It felt like a million choices rested on her shoulders as she climbed the creaky stairs to the attic. The sun's rays barely pierced the years of neglect lodged in the narrow window. But something was calling to her, a voice from the past. Amid the cobwebs and faded memories, she found her father's journal, worn pages beckoning her closer. With hands trembling, she opened it to a page titled, 7 Life-Changing Steps. Each word was soaked in his wisdom, his dreams for her interwoven with heartfelt advice. Face every storm with courage, it read. Remember, empowerment isn't solitary, it thrives in community. Emma's heart raced. Could these steps guide her not just toward survival, but to a better life for her and Jake? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With renewed determination, Emma set out to implement her father's teachings. Days turned into weeks as she fought against the dryness of their land. Bit by bit, she adjusted her mindset, finding small victories that started to shift her outlook. The townsfolk took notice, whispers of her resolve drifting through the community like a fresh wind. Yet, right when hope was blooming, the skies darkened. A fierce storm surged, dark clouds swallowed the horizon as thunder roared and rain poured. Emma's heart sank. Could she really shield her family and their farm when just a storm's breath away was destruction? Floodwaters began to rise, threatening to swallow not only their crops but their future. Fear gripped her, yet inside, the flicker of her father's wisdom sparked. With the storm raging, the air thick with urgency, Emma made a choice. She shouted through the wind to neighbors who had once had grievances with her family. Memories surfaced of camaraderie and sacrifice buried like treasures. Would they come together, or would the storm tear them further apart? As she looked to the swirling skies, the tension clenched her gut. Each family faced painful decisions, but the brunt of her father's lessons hit her like a lightning bolt. Could their community find strength in unity? The winds howled around her, and she felt time pressing down, asking her to decide, save her farm or save her neighbors. Each second felt weighted, the storm a monstrous reminder of the collective struggles they all faced. Emma's heart raced as she grasped for her father's words. Would she rise above the tempest, or would it consume everything she ever dreamed? Emma stood at the edge of the farm, trembling as the storm raged around her. It was a chaotic whirl of wind and rain, yet in her heart, a sense of clarity flickered like a candle against the dark. The voices of her neighbors rang distant but familiar, mingling with the thrumming of the rain. Every second felt like forever as she weighed her options, the lives of her neighbors against the safety of her own family. Help us, Emma! A shout from Mrs. Johnson's house broke through the tempest, a desperate plea. Emma swiveled, feeling the power of that one phrase like a weight lifting off her shoulders. She nodded to Jake, who clutched her hand tight, his little heart echoing the struggles she felt. Come on! She shouted back against the wind. We need to get everyone to safety. With renewed purpose, Emma dashed toward the road. She could see flickering lights in neighboring houses, a signal of families huddling together, waiting for the storm to pass. The fear in their eyes mirrored her own but mixed with determination. Perhaps, just perhaps, they could weather this together, bound by shared history and struggle. Emma and Jake crossed the muddy ground, reaching out to neighbors along the way. Gather supplies. Meet at the barn. Emma yelled to the disheartened faces peering from door frames. It was a call to courage, a reminder of connections that had been forged through labor and loss before. As they made their way, Emma's spirit surged with every voice that joined her call. Jake held each person's gaze, his bright eyes shining with hope. Sisters and brothers joined hands, forming an unbroken chain of humanity, ready to face what the storm brought next. They moved in unison, and the sight swelled her heart. They were a community again, fighting side by side. When they reached the barn, Emma was surprised to find it was already half filled with neighbors carrying supplies, flashlights, blankets, food. Cheers erupted as people embraced, their fears momentarily forgotten in shared solidarity. She felt something new inside her, an energy building that she hadn't felt since her father had walked these same grounds. "All right," Emma called out, her voice piercing through the noise. "We'll strengthen the barn and protect each other." With the storm still roaring outside, they formed stations, working together to secure the building with bales of hay and boards. Laughter and shouts mixed with the wind, each phrase a defiant act of resistance against nature's wrath. Emma directed everyone, feeling a surge of strength with each plan set into motion. Suddenly, a crackling noise tore through the storm. Emma's heart halted. The barn shook violently. "Everyone, hold on!" she yelled, scrambling to the center where the group huddled, protecting each other. The sound of the roof creaking invigorated her. The storm was no match for the power of their unity. Just as she thought their efforts might be enough, a blinding flash lit up the skies. A tree nearby splintered, crashing with an earth-shaking thud right outside their refuge. Gasps filled the barn, and Emma felt the raw panic sweep across everyone's faces. For a moment, the world became silent in the aftermath of the roar. "Is everyone okay?" Emma asked breathlessly, scanning the crowd. A chorus of nods settled her racing heart. They were in this together, bound by hope and resolve. The storm was fierce, but so was the spirit of every person inside. As they braced for the next wave of the storm, Emma thought of her father. His voice echoed in her heart, "Empowerment thrives in community." But even more questions danced in her mind. It wasn't just the storm they had to weather. Life beyond this moment called for strength she hadn't yet discovered. What would it take for her to truly lead them through? Suddenly, through the crackling rain, a new thought emerged. Could the experience bond their community in ways she dreamed of? Would this fight forge deeper connections, or would the scars of the storm linger long after the winds had calmed? The answers lay ahead, hidden in the storm's aftermath. The wind howled like a restless spirit, but inside the barn, a different energy crackled in the air. Emma stood firm, heart racing not from fear, but from the fire ignited by her community gathering around her. Their faces, illuminated by flickering lanterns, glimmered with determination. Each person was more than familiar, they were family, intertwined by shared struggles and unyielding spirit. With a deep breath, Emma stepped forward. "Okay, folks. We may be shaken, but we're not broken. Let us take a moment to plan." She could sense the collective energy shift as she spoke. It was empowering. They looked to her, eyes glistening not just with fear, but with trust. "Jake, grab those flashlights and line them up," she called to her brother. He didn't hesitate, darting across the barn with swift enthusiasm. The sight of her little brother hustling ignited something deep within Emma. She remembered her father's teaching: strength lies not just in leadership, but in inspiring others to rise. They created makeshift repair stations, where neighbors worked together to reinforce the barn's walls. Emma showed them how to brace the roof, each nail driven down like a promise. With laughter and shared stories, some of the tension lifted, a reminder of the bonds they had forged over years of shared labor and camaraderie. Then, it hit her. "What if we set up a communication plan?" she suggested, her voice breaking through laughter. In case of emergencies or if we need to spread out to help those who couldn't make it here. The group nodded, thinking. Within moments, they had a system. Signals would be sent with flashlights, each blink a message of strength. As they clamped down the last board, the storm shifted outside a growl in the darkness. Emma felt it in her bones as if the very earth was releasing its frustrations. "We've got this!" she shouted, and as if in response, a wave of cheer erupted, shaking the barn. Then came a sound too close, a horrifying crash that made everyone jump. The vibrations rattled through the wooden beams. "Emma!" someone screamed. She turned to see the barn entrance widen as a powerful gust forced it ajar, letting in a rush of rain. Fear flickered through the room, but Emma steadied herself, standing on a pile of hay for height. "Listen to me." She raised her voice, fighting against the roar of the storm. "We need to stick together. Stay close, keep your voices up, don't lose hope. We can manifest our strength." Suddenly, amid the moment of chaos, Emma spotted Lily, the timid girl from down the road, trembling in the corner. Emma's heart squeezed. "Lily," she called softly. "Come here. You're safe with us." Without hesitation, Lily gaped, eyes wide and trusting. Emma rushed over, taking her shaking hand. A wave of reassurance washed over the little girl as she joined the circle of comfort Emma had described. As they stood together, shoulder to shoulder, with the wind howling and rain battering the barn, Emma realized this was about more than just weathering a storm. They were creating a shelter of hope, building connections that would transcend fear. But deep down, a question nagged at Emma's heart: what would happen when the storm passed? Would this newfound spirit stay alive, or would it dissolve like mist under morning sun? As the barn creaked around them, new resolutions danced in Emma's mind, waiting to be shaped. With a heart full of hope and determination, she peeked outside the barely open door. Lightning lit up the night, revealing the outline of the farm, and that tantalizing thought lingered. What lay outside once the tempest calmed? Would they rise stronger, or falter under silence's weight? Before she could dwell on the thoughts, the next wave of wind hit harder than ever, shaking the barn furiously. Emma turned to her neighbors, sensing their collective resolve. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning, and they weren't done yet. The storm's wrath roared louder, and somewhere beneath the chaos, Emma knew they were just moments away from learning how powerful they could truly be. But what happens next when everything held dear is placed at risk? The barn shook with renewed ferocity, the howling wind swirled like a cyclone. Emma's pulse quickened. "Hold on tight," she shouted, urging everyone to brace themselves. The fear in the air was palpable, but it was accompanied by something else too: an invigorating determination. They were bound together in this chaos, and for every crash of thunder, there came a woven fabric of support that lifted them above their fears. "Jake, help me move that haystack to block the entrance," Emma yelled. Instinct kicked in, she didn't want to give the storm one more opening to threaten them. With Jake's help, they shoved bales of hay to create a barrier, fortifying what they could. Each push and pull felt as if they were rooting down into the earth, fortifying their home, their spirit. Around her, neighbors muttered words of encouragement, rallying each other in the turmoil. A few feet away, Emma spotted Mr. Thompson, the oldest farmer in the community. His hands trembled as he steadied a beam. "We've seen storms before, Emma," he called out. "But never like this. Stay strong." His voice pierced through the storm, a beacon of wisdom. She felt her heart swell with gratitude. "Keep the faith," Emma shouted back, her voice rough from exertion. "Together, we can withstand anything." The walls creaked ominously. Emma felt her energy waning, but she pushed it away, focusing instead on Lily, still grasping her hand. "Look at this," she said softly to the girl. "We are proving we can stand against anything. You're part of this, Lily. We're all in it together." The child glanced up at her with big, brave eyes, a flicker of courage igniting despite the dread lingering at the edges of their sanctuary. Then, with a roar that drowned out even the wind, the barn door flew open entirely, sending a whirlwind of debris spiraling inside. Emma stumbled back, signaling everyone to gather around. "Close ranks!" she yelled, her urgency slicing through the chaos. A rush of adrenaline surged. "Lily, stay next to me." Emma clutched the little girl's hand tighter, reassuring her. They formed a protective circle as debris tumbled inside. Heartbeats raced, breaths quickened. The chaos felt endless. Suddenly, Emma froze. A low rumble echoed above them, and for a split second, time seemed to slow as if the world held its breath. Was it just the storm? Or something deeper? She met Jake's gaze, and in that moment, they both understood they couldn't afford any cracks in their determination, not now. As if responding to their resolve, the wind howled louder, but Emma drew strength from it. "We are not only fighting for survival, we're fighting for each other. Let us show this storm what we're made of." She raised her voice above the noise, and they all echoed forward with a collective cry, "Together." And then, in the tumult, something miraculous happened. The barn withstood the next barrage of wind as if it understood the weight of their unity. As if acknowledging their fight, the storm relented just slightly. For a moment, the howling softened, revealing a sliver of hope beneath the chaos. But then came a deafening crack that silenced every heart in the barn. The roof trembled. Everyone froze in fear, eyes darting up. Emma could feel her breath hitch in her throat. Was this it? Would they endure, or would this moment shatter what they built? As the dust settled and the air thickened with apprehension, Emma felt a shift in her heart. There was still uncertainty, but the thought lingered: if they could face down the storm, what awaited them beyond it? The night hung heavy with tension, and as the wind picked up once more, Emma locked eyes with every person around her, feeling the weight of their shared experience. This was just a beginning, but could they truly become more than they had been before? And as silence crept in, just before the next blow, Emma realized something vital: they were in this together, but would their bonds hold when the winds changed again? What else would the storm reveal? The air thickened as the last echoes of the crack faded. Emma's heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears, but she fought to steady herself. "Everyone, keep your eyes on me," she called, willing her voice not to tremble. She could see the shadows of fear lingering on their faces, and she knew she had to anchor them, especially Lily, who still clutched her hand with innocent desperation. Around them, the barn felt alive, creaking and groaning under the pressure of the storm. The moment stretched, amplifying the smallest sounds: the drip of rain, the whistle of wind, each noise a reminder that nature was relentlessly testing them. "Mr. Thompson, I need you at the rear with the others. Can you take over there?" Emma directed, urgency propelling her. He nodded, determination etched on his weathered face. She hoped his years of experience fighting against storms would bring some steadiness to their fear. "Jake," she turned, "if you could help those at the windows, we need to secure every opening we can." He met her gaze, the courage in his eyes reflective of the broader unity they shared. "On it," he replied, and darted towards the shuttering windows. As they fanned out, Emma took a deep breath. "Now, everyone, we're going to push together. On 3. 1, 2, 3. They strained against the howling wind, pulling closer together in a huddle. Emma could feel the strength of their collective wills, an unbroken thread woven through shared vulnerability, but then the storm restructured itself, wind twisting and screaming, and with a violent shudder, a deafening crash ensued. The roof seemed to reach its breaking point above them. Emma's heartbeat quickened, her hands instinctively tightening around Lily's. She could feel the little girl's fear radiating through her grip. "It's okay, Lily. We're ready for this. We just need to stay together," she whispered, forcing a smile for the girl's sake. But her insides were churning with dread. Suddenly, through the chaos, a low rumble gained volume, reverberating through the barn like some beast awakened from slumber. The dust danced in the air, caught in the lamplight, and Emma squinted at the sight. "Look!" shouted one of the neighbors, pointing towards a flicker of light coming from outside the open barn door. The sight struck Emma. This was no ordinary storm. She could feel a different power building, something otherworldly, as if the tempest concealed secrets waiting to be unveiled, both terrifying and captivating. "Don't be afraid. Keep pushing," Emma called out, willing her voice to rise above the tempest. They were not mere victims, they were a force, and she would not let fear tear them apart. As they continued to brace against the walls, Emma felt the energy shift. Something was happening in the chaos beyond the barn, a tearing of the clouds, or perhaps an unveiling of hope. In that moment, a revelation struck her. What if there is something on the other side of this storm we need to understand? She felt a stir within her, an idea that perhaps their fight today would uncover more than survival, it could be their path to healing. Another crack echoed, but Emma's heartbeat intensified with an unexpected mix of fear and resolve. "We are more than this moment. We will see what lies ahead, and together, we will confront it." She could see the flicker of determination igniting within the others. Shouts of encouragement rose like a tide, reinforcing their unity, their strength, and then, just as she thought they could withstand it all, the barn trembled once again, the foundations around them seemingly shifting. Emma dared to think, could the storm be leading them towards something greater, a promise hidden beneath the rage of the winds? As the winds howled, the ground beneath their feet began to tremble with a fierceness that felt alive. What truths, what secrets would this storm reveal? With hearts beating in sync, they braced themselves for whatever lay ahead, and Emma was left with one haunting question: would it bind them together or tear them apart? The noise surged again, the barn creaking alarmingly as though caught in a vice. Emma stole a glance at Lily. The girl's wide eyes reflected not just fear, but an innocence that somehow managed to find sparks of bravery amid the storm. Catching her breath, Emma yelled over the cacophony, "Everyone, we're doing great. Keep pushing. Trust each other." The flicker from the doorway grew steadily brighter, bathed in an unearthly glow. It beckoned them, almost teasingly, as if challenging them to break free from the constraints of the tempest. "Emma!" cried Jake, rushing back from the windows. "It's coming. There's something out there." "What do you mean?" she asked, focusing desperately on his face as it told a story of urgency. "It's not just wind, Emma. I can feel it. Something's different." His voice trembled, and in that moment, the passion in his gaze met her own uncertainty. Suddenly, a bright flash illuminated the barn, sharper than any lightning they had experienced. Emma flinched instinctively, squeezing Lily's hand tighter. The storm was shifting, their surroundings were charged with an unexplainable energy. "Step back, everyone," Emma urged as she instinctively moved toward the door, the glow becoming more pronounced, radiating warmth against the chill. "We need to see what this is." Without questioning, the group followed her, caught in a collective curiosity that momentarily overshadowed their fear. The storm's howl transformed into a symphony of whispers as they moved closer, making the air almost electric. "What if it's dangerous?" Mr. Thompson murmured, his voice uncertain but edged with an uncharacteristic thrill. "Or it's a chance for something more." "We can't let fear keep us locked inside this barn," Emma insisted. "What we thought was a threat might actually be our chance for change." With each step forward, the energy prickled against their skin. Lily's grip on Emma's hand tightened as they nearly reached the door. "Can you feel that?" Emma whispered, sharing a glance with Jake. He nodded. There was something at play here, a lingering possibility clinging to the storm. Just then, the raging wind began to slow, a hush blanketing the barn. It was an eerie silence, almost unnerving, as if the world took a breath. They were poised on the brink of something profound. Emma turned to the others, her heart racing. "We can do this together. Let us find out what lies beyond." Outside the barn, the landscape was transformed. A mysterious luminosity filled the air. Shadows swirled and danced, revealing figures that flickered like memories seen through a veil. For the first time, Emma felt a swell of hope rise within her chest, fighting against fear. This storm wasn't just a chaos of nature, it was a conduit for something deeper, something waiting to be unearthed. Then, as if orchestrated by an unseen hand, the light flickered and began to form shapes, glimpses of stories untold. Each glowing figure resonated with a heartbeat of real experiences, and within that pulse, Emma recognized familiar faces. "Mom." Lily breathed, her eyes widening with recognition and longing. Emma froze, her breath catching in her throat. How could this be? She had always believed her mother was long gone, lost to the past like so many pieces of forgotten history. But here, blurring the lines between reality and memory, was something she never could have anticipated. The storm no longer felt like an enemy, it seemed a vessel, carrying the fragments of their past, inviting them to confront what had been lost. Emma's heart ached as she stepped forward, defying the boundaries of her fear. The light beckoned again, a promise draped in mystery. It wasn't merely about surviving the storm, it was about discovering the truths hiding within it. "Emma," a voice echoed, familiar yet surreal. "You've come." We've waited. Emma hesitated, overwhelmed by a surge of emotions, a maelstrom of grief and warmth. Could she summon the courage to face what awaited them? Would she step into the unknown, and if so, what would she find? As her heart raced, she stood at the threshold of revelation. Pondering if the truth could reunite not just memories, but hearts long apart. What awaited them outside the barn was more than just a storm's end, it was a moment of reckoning. Would they discover healing in this whirlwind of memories, or would the ghosts of the past tether them down? Emma blinked, unable to tear her gaze away from the flickering light. The whispers wrapped around her like a warm blanket, pulling her closer to the shimmering figures. Memories and dreams danced within that ethereal glow, beckoning her with an undeniable force. Is it really her? Lily's voice was a whisper, fragile and full of hope. Emma turned to look at her. The girl's eyes glimmered with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Lily." Emma started, but words failed her. Could this be a mirage, a trick of the storm? Or was it truly her mother? The figures swayed and twisted, growing more defined. Anxiety gripped Emma's heart. She felt as though she were standing on the edge of a cliff, teetering between the known and the unexplored. Yet her heart urged her forward. "Let us see," she finally said, her voice steadier than she felt. With a collective breath, they stepped outside. The barn door creaked open, the cool air rushing at them like a long-lost friend. The world outside was surreal, the colors vibrant, the sounds crisp. It was as if every aspect of their surroundings had come alive in brilliant clarity. "Mom." Lily called out, her voice breaking through the swirling energy. The figures became more distinct, illuminating the dark shadows that clung to their hearts. That eye in the forefront, Emma saw her mother's smiling face, radiant and familiar. An urge to run and embrace her surged through her, but dread held her back. What if this was a hallucination, a cruel trick? "Step closer, Emma," her mother's voice resonated through the chaos, soothing and warm. "We've waited so long." Each step felt like it was weighed down by the gravity of memories long buried. Beside her, Jake squeezed her hand tighter, drawing strength from her as well as offering it. She glanced back at the group. "Whatever happens, we're together," she reassured them, needing to believe her own words. "Together," they echoed. The swirling shapes thickened, and other faces emerged, friends from the past, people they'd lost or grown apart from. The illuminated figures danced before them, forming a tapestry of shared histories, heartbreaks, and joys. Each face held stories waiting to unfold, perhaps wounds yet to be healed. "Emma." The voice was tender, but steeped in longing. The figure of her mother took a step forward, the glow around her brightening. "Sweetheart, don't be afraid," her mother continued, "we're here to show you the way." A shiver raced down Emma's spine as the warmth of hope collided with the cold weight of grief. Could she trust this moment? Could she dare to chase away the pain that had become her constant companion? "I've missed you," Emma sighed, the words barely escaping her lips. It felt as if an invisible wall was cracking, and she could feel pieces of her heart she thought were lost starting to stir to life. Just then, a loud crash echoed in the distance, jolting them back into the present. The storm had not completely surrendered. The radiant figures wavered, and Emma felt a powerful surge of uncertainty. "Emma! We have to go." Jake's urgent voice pulled her from her reverie. "Wait!" she cried, torn between the glimmering truth of her mother and the chaotic reality around them. "We can't leave yet. Not now." "Why not?" Mr. Thompson shouted, a mix of fear and wonder in his voice. "What if it's a trap?" Emma faced the group, their faces a swirl of emotions: anxiety, hope, fear. She knew they were on the brink of something life-changing, but the shadows of doubt loomed large. "I need to know," she whispered, her heart pounding with every word. "I need to understand." The light flickered more intensely, the whispering voices blending into a chorus that echoed in her mind. Suddenly, each word felt like an echo of both past and future. The storm raged on, but inside Emma's heart, a flame was igniting. What if embracing their past could lead them to new beginnings? Would they stay, brave the storm, and uncover the truth? Or would fear hold them back from the healing they all desperately needed? She stood at the juncture of choice, the glow emanating from her mother feverish and insistent. As the whispers grew louder, one thought rang clear: in a world that had spun out of control, they might just find a way to reclaim their story. Would they seize the moment? And then, the light pulsed brighter, pulsating with expectancy. The light surged, enveloping Emma in warmth, wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. Her heart raced as the glowing figure of her mother stepped closer, a radiant presence in the chaos. The whispers swirled around her, growing in strength and clarity. She felt the energy pulsate like a heartbeat, urging her to step forward. "Mom, I need to know." Emma's voice trembled, a mix of fear and longing. "Is this really you?" "Always," her mother whispered, a soft smile spreading across her face. The light flickered again, and Emma could almost hear her name on the lips of those who had come before. It was both thrilling and terrifying. "Emma!" Jake's voice cut through the atmosphere, a sharp reminder of the storm brewing behind them. "We can't stay here. If this is a trap, no." Emma interrupted, her voice stronger than she anticipated. "It's not a trap. It's my mother. I can feel her." The rest of the group exchanged uncertain glances. Doubts swirled among them like the storm clouds overhead, but Emma's resolve held firm. She stepped further into the light, pulling Jake along with her. "Please, trust me," she urged, her eyes never leaving her mother's comforting gaze. The figures around them shimmered, a response to her plea, and suddenly a silent energy filled the air, heavy with unspoken truths. "Emma, everything you seek has been waiting for you. The answers to your heartache are here," her mother said, her voice wrapping around Emma like a soothing caress. The memories surged, visions of laughter and joy, intertwining sadness and loss, all swirled into one. Emma felt a deep connection to each flickering figure, realizing that they were all a part of her journey. Each face held a fragment of a story that brought her to this moment. As memories danced in front of her, Emma saw her brother, lost yet still so present. Her father stood by him, a protective figure. Old friends laughed and waved. Behind them, there was a light brighter than anything she had seen before. It felt familiar, like a life she had always longed for but thought was gone forever. "Can all of this be real?" Lily whispered, gripping Mr. Thompson's arm, her wide eyes reflecting both wonder and fear. "More real than we can imagine," he replied, his voice tinged with something like hope. But just as Emma began to believe, the storm rumbled with a thunderous clap, and the light wavered. Emma felt the ground shift under her feet, pulling her back. Her heart ached at the thought of losing this moment. "No. I don't want to lose this," she cried, voice raw with desperation. "Embrace us. Hold on to what you feel," her mother urged, her figure glowing fiercely amidst the uncertainty. Understanding dawned on Emma. This wasn't just about seeing them, it was about embracing the love, the memories, the pain, and the healing they offered. She had to let herself feel every inch of it. Pushing aside her fear, she stepped fully into the light, allowing it to fill her completely. The warmth wrapped around her like a protective shield. She felt Jake's hand squeeze hers tighter as if anchoring them both to this moment. Suddenly, all the faces surrounding her turned serious, their smiles fading in unison. There was a shift in the air, palpable and heavy. "But will you be willing to face what you uncover?" her mother asked, eyes searching as if she could peer into Emma's very soul. "What do you mean?" Emma whispered, uncertainty creeping back in. The light flickered and dimmed, shadows creeping at the edges. The energy in the air thickened, and the storm roared around them, testing their resolve. Emma's heart raced as she faced not just her mother but the weight of her own fears and regrets. "What if the truth is harder than we think?" Jake's quiet voice echoed, and Emma felt a lump in her throat. The figures began to fade, slipping back into the light, their whispers morphing into an urgent plea. Emma felt time slipping away. She had to act, to choose. "Wait. I want to know what happens next," Emma shouted, the desperation clear in her voice. But as the figures faded further, the storm continued to roar, holding its own secrets just out of reach. Would Emma find the courage to uncover the truth waiting in the depths of her heart? Would they all step into the unknown, together? The whispers began to rise in intensity, echoing her resolve. Emma knew one thing for certain: this journey was just beginning. The wind howled relentlessly outside, its fierce embrace trying to pull Emma back from the fringes of this ethereal realm. The air crackled with intensity as her mother's gaze bore into her, a mix of love and a warning unspooled in the wake of Emma's plea. "Face what you've forgotten," her mother urged, the words weaving like a spell around them. Emma felt the weight of those words. Longings and insecurities bubbled up, pressing against her chest. The truth she feared the most was lurking in the shadows, whispering taunts of failure and regret. "Don't let it hold you back," Jake said softly, his fingers still clutching hers. His voice was steady, lending her strength when her own seemed to falter. She turned to him, desperation etched across her features. "What if it's not what I want to hear?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Then you fight. You adapt. You grow." His words were like sunlight breaking through a cloud. She wanted to believe him. The light around Emma pulsed, presenting her with memories, but they weren't just the joyful ones. A whirlwind of emotions took hold, a collage of mistakes, harsh words, and moments of vulnerability. Each recollection turned into a wave crashing over her, threatening to drag her under. As the faces surrounding her flickered, Emma recognized them not just as fragments of her past, but as pieces of her very soul. Memories of her brother looking lost but courageous, of her father's reassuring smile, of friends who had stuck by her, and those who hadn't. It all swirled beneath the storm, pooling at her feet. "Stand firm." Her mother's voice rang out, steadying the chaos. "To embrace the light, you must accept the darkness." With trepidation, Emma took a breath, focusing on the roaring storm and the flickering figures. Would she let fear dictate her next step? She could either shrink away from the truth or face it head-on. "I choose to see it all. I want to know," Emma declared, bravery swelling in her chest. The storm responded with a flash of lightning, illuminating the faces of her past. The figures began to materialize around her, revealing emotions she had bottled up for too long. The laughter turned into tears, joy transformed into loss. In that moment, she understood that healing didn't mean forgetting. It meant reclaiming every part of her story, the good and the painful. "Hold on to that thought," Jake said, his faith flowing through their linked hands. "You're stronger than you think." "Emma," her mother said, her voice clearer now, "every piece of you is worthy of love. Even those parts that made you feel small. This truth will guide you." As the shimmering figures closed in, Emma felt a surge of warmth wash over her. It felt like an embrace from all those who cared, laced with encouragement. She felt lighter, almost buoyant. The inner storm forced her to confront the darker pieces of her tapestry, yet there was an unexpected liberation in facing them, a sense of empowerment budding deep within. The storm's intensity now morphed into a gentle rain, washing over the remnants of her doubts. But just then, the light dimmed again, shadows merging together, and a chilling wind snaked around her. "It's not just confronting the past," her mother's voice echoed, "it's what you choose to do with it that shapes your future." "Nobody said it would be easy," Jake added, his grip firm as uncertainty crept back into Emma's heart. She looked at the space before her, the path starting to clear. Facing the darkness was just the first step. What lay ahead could either be a fresh beginning or a relentless cycle of fear. The moment was buzzing with potential, but also fraught with unanswered questions. Can I truly step into my power? Emma wondered aloud, unable to shake the sense that the storm was merely a prelude to something bigger. As the whispers began to swirl once more, ecstatic and anxious, she realized this was just the warm-up. The real challenge awaited. Deep in the heart of the tempest would she find the strength to overcome the looming shadows of doubt? What transformations awaited her in this mysterious path ahead? Emma stood enveloped in a shimmering light, her heart racing, yet calm. The whispers of her loved ones danced in her ears like a gentle breeze, urging her forward. The storm outside raged, but within her, there was an awakening, a realization that the challenge ahead wasn't born just from the elements. It was about facing her own truth. Embrace your power. Her mother's image flickered, her expression glowing with encouragement. Emma held on to Jake's hand tight, the warmth of his belief fueling her courage. This journey required more than just facing a storm, it demanded that she claim her story, the light and the shadows. "All right," Emma whispered, her voice steadying. "Let us do this together." As if in response, the figures around her shimmered brighter, urging her on. She stepped into the light fully. The energy surged through her, filling her with a sense of acceptance. The storm outside faded into white noise, mere background to the vibrant unfolding of her spirit. Emma could see her weaving memories, the endless laughter, the heartbreaking losses, and knew that both were vital to her story. With every heartbeat, she felt more powerful. "I will not let my fears define me," she declared. With fervor, the memories surged. Shadows of doubt rose, demanding to be confronted. "Come on!" she shouted to them, ready to embrace her vulnerabilities, a potent energy igniting in her chest. "Face the storms that shape you," her mother's voice echoed. The memories twisted and turned, shadows manifesting as specters before her: regret, failure, anxiety. But for the first time, instead of shrinking back, Emma stood tall, unfazed. "You are part of me, but you do not define me," she shouted, and the winds outside howled in reply, a rhythm set to her rising spirit. The echoes of the past started to transform, wrapping around her like a shield. The storm shifted again, this time the thunder clapping in rhythm with her growing resolve. "I'm ready for what comes next," she called out, her voice resonating now with belief. And just as if a veil lifted, Emma felt the memories shift. Instead of fear, they morphed into lessons. The shadows were no longer haunting, they became guiding lights illuminating her path. With every moment that passed, the storm dwindled outside, revealing tendrils of soft rain that glimmered, a promise of renewal. "Together, we can take on whatever comes," she shouted back to her neighbors, rekindled spirits standing shoulder to shoulder. They had come so far, and now the weight of isolation was lifting, replaced with a collective spirit of belonging. Each familiar face radiated strength, reflecting back Emma's newfound conviction. As the whispers swirled, merging into a harmonious chorus, the light intensified. "We will rebuild, together." Each word was a divine commitment, a pact forged in shared struggles. And with that declaration, the storm finally subsided. The howling winds made way for the gentle pitter-patter of rain, washing away doubts and fears. Standing at the threshold of the barn, Emma blinked at the transformed landscape. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden hue upon the fields, and her friends gathered beside her. For the first time in a long while, tears of joy brimmed in her eyes. They were alive and together, united through adversity, and she felt it, the love and connection she had longed to foster among them. "Emma!" Jake's voice broke through the moment. "Look! He pointed at the horizon where vibrant colors painted the sky. It was a magnificent sunrise, a new beginning emerging from the chaos. Emma could hardly believe it, every moment had led to this, a rebirth not only for the land, but for each heart in their community. "Let us go. Together." She called out, her voice ringing clear. The weight of the past had shifted, and through sharing their individual stories, they had enkindled a strength that could withstand any storm. Hand in hand, they wove into the sunrise, hearts aglow with hope. Emma knew that this was only the beginning. Together, they would nurture the land, heal the wounds, and build a future that celebrated every facet of their being. The light and shadow, joy and grief, empowerment and vulnerability, now stood a promise of possibilities, a community reborn in resilience, ready to face whatever came next, a family ready to thrive. As Emma turned to her friends, she smiled, feeling the moment unfold. "Together," she whispered, and they murmured back, "Together." And so, they began again, under the brightening sky, breathing in the sweet air of new joy and freedom. The storm had shaped them, but it could not contain them any longer. Their hearts beat as one, ready to embrace the journey ahead. This is not just a story, it's a reminder. So if you want to hear more heartwarming journeys, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment about your own transformations and reactions to this ending. I want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support the channel. Don't wait not even one more second to share.